Yes, Jeff, you are a winner without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yes, Jeff. Jeff, welcome, welcome, welcome to Winning Workplace Wednesdays. It is Tish Alicious here, Tish Hodge, founder and CEO of the Shine Institute. And I must say, it was an absolute honor and privilege to have met you last week at the Education 2.0 conference. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hear ye him.
Well, first of all, the honor was mutual. The conference was special. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today.
Mhm. Please, Jeff, you are a husband, you are a father, you are a returning professor,
Yeah.
you are a business owner. You have been interviewed by I don't know how many people. I was looking at your website. You are on top of your game, man. You are on top of your game, and I would love for you to introduce yourself to Winning Workplace Wednesdays.
Oh, thank you. Well, you kind of hit it in that order. I'm a husband and then a father.
Mhm.
And when people say, Jeff, what do you do for a living? I say I wake up every day and I figure out how to deserve my wife and kids
Oh,
because I'm a
wow.
very lucky man.
Wow.
So how do you deserve that much? You got to help people. That's the only way to,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
so I get out of bed and next thing I know, I'm helping people. So whether it's in a classroom, like I'm happy to be on campus at San Diego State right now. I met with the dean earlier today, and so I had to find an empty classroom to duck into, be ready for your show.
Thank you.
So whether it's in the classroom or whether it's on Zooms with my coaching or whether it's in the boardroom with my leadership trainings, I can't put a penny into my account unless I've helped somebody else.
Yes.
And all of that helps me feel like I deserve my wife and kids, like making a difference in the world. Of course, as we evolve, we're so needy in our own right for many years in our life, but we get to a point where we are fully able to make contributions to others. And I feel like as much as I have to learn and grow in my own life, I've got plenty to give. So I'm focused on giving and contributing wherever I can. And I know that if I stay focused on that, whatever I want will come my way.
I love it. And I mean, I I have questions prepared, but just speaking with you, I already have like another question coming. And so, you are on all 16 cylinders. I don't know if there's another car with a bigger cylinder, but you are doing your thing. How did Jeff come into his own? A little bit about your background, because like you said, at some
Yeah.
point we were dependent on parents, on mentors, on learning, going through the educational system again. We just came out of Education 2.0. At what point did you say, "Hey, I want to be a coach.
Uh,
Hey, this is my secret sauce. I am doing well in this vein."
yeah. Well, yeah, that's a big question. I mean, first of all, let me go back even further. I'm in a very spiritual place right now, San Diego State University. It's hard to talk about this campus and my relationship with this university without tearing up. I'm going to
Mhm.
tell you quite vulnerably that when I was in my first year of college, my meal card didn't work. I was in line with like a girl I was kind of interested in, and I went to do my meal card, and they said, "Sorry, your meal card doesn't work." She's like, "Don't worry, I'll pay." And I was like, "Oh." And I found out, and my mom says, "Jeff, we couldn't make the payment." Right.
Mhm.
Then a year later, she says, "Jeff, we can't afford tuition." So I had a job on campus at San Diego State. I was an audio video technician.
Mhm.
And I went to my boss, at the end of the fall semester, and I said, "Hey, you need to look for a replacement because I don't have money to register for school for the spring. So I want to let you know as soon as possible." It's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm going to go home and deliver pizzas, I guess."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then this is the hard part that I'm going to tear up through. The next day, he takes me to lunch, but on the way to lunch, like we normally went, we went a different way. He stops by his boss's office. They take me to lunch. They sit down. They're like, "All right, how much money do you have? How much money do you need? Did you know you could register part time for only $371 and you'll still be a student,
Uh-oh.
which means you can still work here?" And I'm like, "Where is all this coming from?" They're
Yeah.
like, "Jeff, number one, we don't want to lose you. Number two, if you drop out now, the chances of you getting back in are low. And forget if we have you as an employee, just for you,
Mhm.
your life is going to go in a completely different direction if you let yourself
Mhm.
drop. So stay here. We'll lend you $400. You pay us back $100 a month out of the paycheck."
Wow.
So I had
Wow.
to go home. I had to go home. I went to back to my apartment. I can close my eyes and see it. And I called mom, and I was like 19 years old. I'm like, "Mom, is it okay if I borrow money from these people to stay in school. And she was just crying and crying and crying and crying. And I was like, I don't know how, Tish. I don't know how it came to me. I said, Mom, take a deep breath and understand that yours is not to be upset that you can't do it. Yours is to be proud that you've raised a kid that people want to invest in.
Oh, man. Powerful.
So just trying to be true to that, like the rest of my life. So that's the heavy story. And then I attended and survived 18 consecutive semesters, like 7.5 years later, I got out of here with 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's. And so the master's had me fall in love with teaching. I have a whole story about how I decided I wanted to be a graduate teaching assistant. There was a professor I was pursuing. I wanted to be in his class because I'd gotten to see him speak. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to take his class. By the time I enrolled in his class, there was a graduate student teaching it. I'm like, all right, well, if he can teach, I can teach. So anyway, so I started teaching. I got good at it. And so I was adjunct professor in the San Diego Community College District for 20 years, teaching public speaking and growing my little coaching and consulting practice called Get A Klu. And next thing I know, I got really good at that too. And anyway, so they merged and I had this idea. I was better in the classroom because of personal and professional growth. And I was a better coach, consultant, trainer because of my experiences in the classroom. And so living at the intersection of academia and personal and professional growth, I had competitive advantages in both environments. Coaching consulting took me around the world. I was an independent contractor for this seminar organization. I was the coach that would be assigned to all these people that were investing a lot of money in seminar industry stuff. And I was legitimizing it for them. They were nervous. Like, oh, I was worried. And then I show up to coach them. To coach them for 3 days. I'm like, oh, thank God they sent me a legitimate coach. Okay. All right, yeah. So the seminar industry, just like anything else, there's beautiful things to get out of it, but there's also, some questionable stuff. And so I was, at least legitimizing the coaching that people were buying. And then I retired from teaching because I was going around the world and I couldn't commit to brick and mortar anymore. And then COVID hit and we all went through whatever we did to re-identify and reinvent and restabilize and whatever. I went through some things. And during COVID, why waste a good pandemic? Pandemic or no pandemic, I still have a potential. Pandemic or no pandemic, I still have a purpose on this planet. Pandemic or no pandemic, I still have gifts and competitive advantages and things to offer the world. So while a lot of people were binging Netflix, I was writing the integrity game. I love it. Not that I didn't watch any Netflix, but I wrote the integrity game.
This is the integrity game, people.
Yeah.
Yes, man, let's get into it. So I read the foreword and I just started reading the introduction and retired.
Which is impressive because you just got your hands on it like less than a week ago.
I know. And thank you so much for autographing it. Like mine is a signed copy. Signed copy, people. Yes, that was so special. So a couple questions from the foreword, which was written by retired Rear Admiral James McNeil of the U.S. Navy.
Affectionately known as the Admiral.
The Admiral.
The Admiral, yeah.
Yes. So he said pretty much that when he finds himself in a pickle, he thinks, what would Jeff do in this scenario? And that one of his colleagues, if not employees, you were their executive coach, and that person introduced you to him. And then he said, pretty much you guys share a deep love for people, but more importantly, that you will always call people out if they need to have integrity. Where did you get such boldness to call out integrity or the lack thereof?
Well, it's a mixed bag. I mean, first of all, hats off to the Admiral. What a great gentleman. He's doing football coaching and he's an adjunct professor at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. We were both guest speakers in each other's classes this past semester in the spring. And, I'll get into your question in a second, but I want you to understand, there's times in your life where people you absolutely respect and admire say something nice about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's a beautiful moment because you either get to prove them right or wrong. And it's just one of the greatest things in my life that I've proven the Admiral right about me and been a source of value in his life. I mean, he talking about CEO, you're running a ship with 7,000 people on it, right? Anyway, So to be of value in his life means the world to me. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged that.
Yes,
Now,
shout out to the Admiral. Make sure we get that out there.
yeah. Now to your other question about direct communication, part of it's your, behavioral style. If in human resources, a DISC assessment, I'm a high D and a high I.
High I. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we both over on a high I, right? But the thing is, the D is intense, especially by other people's standards.
Right.
So I'm naturally a direct communicator. Intensity is normal for me. You say you're operating all 16. Well, guess what? In my own head, I think I could be doing more. So there's a difference between how we're perceived and what our self-talk is. So intense direct communication to me, to others, feels like loving, compassionate communication, right? Yeah. I mean, if you had broccoli in your teeth, Tish, you especially, right? If you had broccoli in your teeth,
I need you to tell me, Jeff.
Yeah, you want me to dance around it? You want me to dance around that? You want me to tiptoe? You want me to just let me hope she figures that out on her own? No. Right? So the thing is that when it comes to accountability, and we're talking about the integrity game, accountability, and here, by the way, it's like, how'd you figure out how to be so direct? Well, part of it's instinct, part of it's education, right? But part of it is under-evolved. In other words, I've been direct with people before when I didn't have their permission, when I didn't pave the runway, when I didn't Klubeckate the situation, right? And I love it. You follow? So lubrication is my silliness for reduces friction, gets people unstuck, makes things easier, right? Yes. But my point is that for your audience, like direct communication, it needs, you want to pave the runway with permission. Yes. Permission to lead is critical. If I get you engaged and if I get your permission to lead, then I could be as direct as possible because you trust me. Because you already know that I know you. You already know that I'm willing to listen. You already know that I've done the appreciative inquiry and that I've taken the time to get to know you. I've taken the time to understand what you want. Yes. And if you know that I know what you want, then I communicate directly, you can believe that I just want you to get what you want. So thank God the Admiral's mature enough to grant that sort of permission, right? And so there, like, oh my God, there's an Admiral. But if I let that stop me from saying what needs to be said in the moment, then I don't deserve an Admiral as a client if I can't be direct with an Admiral. But it's not about just the direct communication. What I'm trying to say to you, Tish, is that you need permission first. Yes. And you get permission to lead when you
relationship.
Yeah, you get permission to lead when you work hard on engagement. If I can get you engaged in my leadership, I could tell jokes, I could tell stories, I could say nothing and you'll get it. Yeah. Because you're going to be so into me because you know how into you I am. Correct. And so I care. Yeah. I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
It is. Huge answer. I mean, if you're not engaged, then we should all just go home.
That's right.
We should just all go home.
I don't want to build a mansion on top of quicksand.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So in the C-suite, it's more than just the numbers, man. It's the people. You have to care. You have to engage in your people. They have to know that you want them to succeed. You're there to make sure that they get what they're looking for at the end of the day. And so we can't.
In the C-suite, no offense to any of your C-suite listeners, but how many people are surrounding these C-suiters that are trained in the delicacies, the intricacies, the technique, and the compassion of direct communication? Who gets to be direct with a C-suiter?
Yes, we need to make sure that there's no group thinking and that we can have that safe space to have that direct communication.
It's really critical. What else? Your questions are good so far, Tish.
Awesome. I have another one. I have another, and we have seen this one. The other one is still in my suitcase. I still need to unpack. But how many books have you written?
It's so funny. I'm so focused on the books that I want to write. I got like endless number of books projects that are in my head. But let me go through them. The first is Get A Klu in 52, my self-published book. It's 52 tips. They're all organized into 5 categories: communication, accountability, networking, marketing, and sales. Not in that order. And there's 2 extra tips in marketing, so I had a year's worth. Then I did a co-authored project with a client of mine. We did Get A Klu in 52 for entrepreneurs. Right. So all 52 of those tips were in categories related to entrepreneurialism or being an entrepreneur. Then the integrity game is the 3rd book, and now the current book that I'm reading on a weekly basis and streaming to my social channels is Get A Klu in 52 for coaches. Nice. So I find myself as vice president of communication for Professional Coaches Alliance here. That was started here in San Diego, but they're trying to expand. And last year I got involved in California Coaches as a board member and helped usher the merge between California Coaches and Professional Coaches Alliance. So when I got to the end of last year thinking, what 52 tips do I want to come up with for 2023? I thought, let me contribute to emerging and aspiring coaches as I'm involved pro bono, nonprofit, volunteering in a leadership position in the organization. So trying to create synergy and leverage so that I feed more than one bird with one grain.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You are working on the 4th book.
Well, no, the 4th one is out. I ghost wrote a book for another client of mine, so I guess that counts as 5. And I've got some book projects in my head, and I'm going to write another one. I'm going to write another Get A Klu in 52 by the end of this year, so that I have tips starting January, first week of January. I have 52 tips to read in 24. And I have other versions of the integrity game in my head as well, but I'm waiting for the right partners to come out with different versions of the integrity game to promote their verticals, right? So I've got a lot of books in my head in addition to the 4 or 5 that I've written.
Oh my gosh. Jeff, how do you do it all? I can only imagine being a neuron in your brain. There's so many moving parts. There's so many moving parts.
I'm uncomfortable.
What is your morning routine? Do you do
okay. Routine. I feel like after the conference that goes out the window and you're just, figuring out conference stuff. So getting back into it, my best days when I was teaching last semester, I taught Tuesdays and Thursdays. And my first class was at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. So when I was at really best version of myself, what I would do is I would wake up at 4:15 in the morning and I would start a 1-hour walk by 4:45 in the morning. I would walk for 1 hour, hearing my thoughts, letting ideas come around, even recording a video if I need to, if something came to me. And I would be done walking by 5:45, in and out of, like I'm in the shower, after calm down, eat by 6:15, leave by 6:45, get to campus by 7:15, have time to cool down, relax, get into the classroom, fire up the lecture and start class from 8 to 9:15, office hour, So that those would be the best days when it started earlier in the morning, get my 1-hour walk in. Then, for diet and when I'm really on my diet and feeling the best about myself, I'll eat 300 calories every 3 hours, 5 times a day. And lots of water and supplements that hydrate my cells. And so that's when I'm my most disciplined. But I don't know if I'm, I don't know if I have a morning routine, but when I'm at my best, that's what it is. Tish, maybe it looks like I may have lost you. Maybe there's a hiccup in I hope you can still hear me, but I see a circle now. Let's see if this comes back on for you, Tish. It's funny. I see. All right. So hello, everybody. Until Tish comes back on, let me carry the show. It's kind of funny. I think there's a hiccup in her internet connection. It looks like I'm still connected. Feel like I should talk and carry. This is interesting. Now I'm the only one here in Tish's show. So hey everyone, just to reset and cover review what we've covered so far. I'm Jeff Klubeck. I'm Tish's guest on this program, and it's Winning Wednesdays. And Tish, is an incredible HR consultant and professional. And the audience, from what I understand it, is fellow professionals and human resources professionals and C-suite executives. And I'm here on her program to talk about my background in the integrity game a little bit, which is a book that I wrote. And Tish and I met last week at the Education 2.0 conference. We were on a panel together. The theme for the panel was employee development in a hybrid work environment. And we had a fantastic panel. Tish and another colleague of ours, Dorothy Enriquez, was on the panel, and our moderator, Preeti Dubey from Singapore, led the panel beautifully, and we all bonded at the conference. So Tish and I were of like mind, like takes one to know one. So I saw her energy, she saw my energy, and here we are building on the relationship by virtue or by way of this interview. And so I see on my camera the live, and we're like getting close to 20 minutes into this, but I seem to have lost Tish somehow. And I'm just talking to avoid dead air, assuming if this is being live streamed into any of her social media channels. So if this carries on much longer, I'll dismiss. But what I'd like to do is keep it rolling in case she logs back in. And forgive me while I check my text messages to see what may be happening. And let's see what's going on here. In real time.
Jeff?
Hey, Tish, listen, you're on speakerphone right now, and I'm still in the StreamYard, and I see the clicker still clicking the time away, 20 minutes and 25 seconds, 26. So I thought I would stay here in case you came back on board. But if the stream is ended, then I'll dismiss.
Please stay.
Okay, yeah, I'm staying, and I'm talking just to carry and avoid dead air. So I'll stay until you come back in.
Yeah, my your computer, your video was going in and out. I thought it was on your end, but it looks like it said my computer overheated.
That happens from time to time, especially in the summer when it's hot. I've got the sun on my face. It's shining through the classroom right now, but my computer's in the shade.
Smart. Let me jump back in StreamYard. I'm going to restore.
All right. So I could tell the audience right now, I've got Tish on the line. She's coming back in. She knew this interview was going to be hot, hot, hot. And it was so hot that her computer overheated. So we got to let the cool down occur, and Tish will come back on. And it's, one of the unofficial definitions that I heard of being a professional is the show must go on. So regardless of the hiccups and unforeseen circumstances, and by the way, here you come back. This is awesome. All right. I hung up the phone. Tish, welcome back to your show.
That's how hot you are, Jeff.
Oh, man. Well, listen, check this out.
Fiery.
The interesting, what was I going to say there is that the show must go on. And one of the definitions of being professionals, regardless, and this is I'll root it back into the integrity game. Are you ready? What happens to a building, bridge, or a tunnel?
Yes, I am.
When it doesn't have structural integrity? What happens to a building, bridge, or tunnel without structural integrity? It will crumble. It will collapse, right?
It's going to go down. It's going to crumble. There's going to have no steel beams in there to keep it standing.
Yeah. So the integrity game argues that the integrity game says human beings and podcasts and interviews are the same way. Without structural integrity, the slightest pressure test could have it crumble. But it just so happens that even when your computer overheats, we've got structural integrity to keep the show rolling. The show must go on.
That's right.
So we're resilient.
So much for staying on.
We're resilient.
And you know what? I wouldn't change it. I would, life things happen. It's not going to be always squeaky clean or exactly how you anticipated. There were 3 items from the conference that I forgot. I got pens with the logo, my face wash. I'm like, come on, I don't want to forget my face wash. And I invested in these pens, but you know what? The show still went on, and no one realized that I still had another giveaway to give. So at the end of the day, come what may, it's just fiery. We want to hear more from Jeff. My next question is, tell me more about your 52 tips for coaches like me, like Dorothy, who will be coming on next week. What are some things we can do to make sure we hit that 50K plus annually in our coaching space?
Yeah. Well, great question, because I heard a statistic back in 2013 that 90% of everybody that calls themselves a coach makes less than 40K as a coach. And that was 10 years ago. So you're asking a great question. And that's one of the things that I'm really focused on in the book, is to help aspiring and emerging coaches quit their day job, so to speak.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the all of my 52 tips books, they're organized into 5 categories. Right. And if you wanted to hang on, I would get the cover too. I have the book in my backpack.
Is it right there?
I can get it. I can get it as I speak. So let me show you. So but let me answer your question, right? Your question is, for coaches that want to, the aspiring and emerging coaches, what's the number one thing they need to figure out is how to make money as a coach, right? Yes, which means you got to figure out how to enroll clients into coaching programs.
Yes.
So the 5 categories that I've organized this book, all the tips. The first category is self-promotion. Self-promotion. So the first set of tips, there's 11 tips in self-promotion. So in other words, it goes from like, you have to start by becoming a coach, right? You got to actually call yourself a coach.
Yes.
You have to get used to the idea that, guess what? You're a coach now. You can coach. You have this power to help people change behavior. Like, and like, I remember the first time that somebody said, Coach Jeffrey, you're up, like in a role play session that we were doing. I'm like, I was looking around like, who's coach? Oh, not me.
Yes.
So that it starts there, right? It starts there. And so all the way up to telling the world that you're a coach.
Yes.
And then some of my tips are on, well, careful, only tell the part of the world that's interested. Because we get so excited about this ability that we've got, and we're so excited about helping people, we may go tell a bunch of people that we're a coach. But guess what? Not everybody wants to hear that you're a coach. Not everybody knows what a coach is. And you may be scaring people away from opening up to you if you say, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach. So it like self-promotion, like you got to become a coach, get used to calling yourself a coach, tell the world that you're a coach, but then chill out a little bit on how much of the world you tell that you're a coach. Pre-qualify. Make sure they're interested in knowing that you're a coach, or there's a viable reason. And then of course, like, I don't want to, I don't want to tell you I'm a coach. I'd rather show you. Yeah. So the last tip in the book, last tip in that section transitions into engagement or enrollment. So I've got 9 tips on how I enroll people in coaching, the system that I came up with to build my career. And it was in the worst economy since the Great Depression, that in 2009, 10, 11, and 12, I was convincing people to pay me out of pocket to talk to me once a week or every other week. So there's 9 tips in there about how I do it, my formula, which is teachable and trainable. Then, so it's chronologically, right? So like, you start with self-promotion, then you got to get people enrolled or engaged in your coaching. Then it's motivation plus accountability, just like it says in the integrity game. So I've got 10 tips on how do we motivate people, 10 tips on how do we hold people accountable. And then the final 12 tips in the book are how do we build a coaching practice. A lot of people say, I want to build my coaching business. I say, I don't build a coaching business. I don't have employees. I build a coaching practice. Yes. I get my schedule full with people that are paying for coaching, but coaching is just one thing on my menu. I could have training, I could have consulting, I could have author, I could have speaker for hire, I could have info products. So coaching is just one of the ways that I might solve a problem. So I go from promoting myself as a coach to a problem solver, and coaching is just one thing on the menu. That's right. Right. But when I get people enrolled in coaching, that's the point of entry. And then maybe it leads to consulting or training or book projects or whatever else. So that's a little bit about Get A Klu in 52 for coaches. Here it is.
Nice. That's the one that's in my suitcase.
Yeah. And I want you to know that I know that you're a champion of DEI. And I'm not the specialist, but I am an advocate and a champion. I'll tell you that when the first draft of the book cover I got was one white dude with a backpack. I said, send it back. There needs to be at least 2 people, and there better be some color in there. So now I love it. So now we've got Get A Klu.
Thank you for the brown and black people.
Yeah. Get A Klu in 52 for coaches. And it says, the subtext says, you can't see it because of the blur, but myself included. Because even though I'm at a point 17, 18 years into the game where I've got a lot to give aspiring and emerging coaches, I'm looking up to the people that have gone before me. I'm standing on shoulders of giants, and I've got so much to learn. I consider yourself among the people that I get to learn from in the next 10 years of my life, right? So that's what was so special about the Education 2.0 conference that we were at. There was people like you that gave me tons of kudos for how I showed up, but I was just humbled by all of the accomplishments of everybody I was surrounded with. And the follow-up from it is just amazing and eye-opening and inspires me to do more things. No different from the guy I saw teaching the class that I wanted to take years ago. I said, all right, well, now I'm going to be a professor. Well, now I want to do everything I saw these people doing, because I'm so inspired.
You know what, Jeff? I've been to a lot of conferences. I mean, the Society of Human Resources Management, they put on a butt conference. They have an amazing conference each year. The conference that we went to last week, I didn't really know much about it. I did reach out to some of the award winners. I did my due diligence. I sent some messages. I scheduled some calls. I just made sure that it was an up and up. But I've never been in such a space where there was such brilliant, intelligent, accomplished. The rooms, the lunches were overflowing with such amazing people.
Yeah, and cross-functional, like the conferences, here we are doing a promotion for the conference, but what an amazing thing. And it's like, what a neat model because the reality was it was a little bit incestuous, but in a good way.
Yes, it was great.
Because a lot of times when you think about speaking, you think about speaking to an audience that like is there to hear your message. But we were all audience for each other as award winners, as recipients, or people that were being recognized for our accomplishments. So you think about it, there's keyword searches. We come up in their searches. They vet us and they think, oh, they're really legit. So then they call us and they stroke our egos a little bit. Like, what? I'm eligible for what? You're not the right person? And then you go and apply, and then you think, well, I've paid money to go to conferences before. This one seems interesting, and let's check it out. Now, I had the advantage of going 2 years ago when it was called Global Forum for Education and Leadership. And I didn't get as much out of it as I did this time because I couldn't participate as much because I had other things going on in town in Vegas while I was there. But this time around, it's like we were all supportive. We were all engaged. And there's so many other things that I can say that were wonderful about the conference. So there was like 6 conferences in one.
Same time. That's
so there was internet, marketing, law, finance, and real estate, healthcare, education.
It was huge.
And internet marketing. Anyway, so those lunches that you were talking about, the breakfasts, the lunches, and the evening networking, you could be sitting at a table with 10 people with attendees from 6 different verticals.
Yes.
And we're all there in the same space, having similar experience. But then the cross-functional networking is a wonderful value add to the incestuous networking. And it's not even that incestuous. We're all educators in different forms. So there was coaches, there was trainers, there was professors, there was administrators at universities, there was founders of tech companies that were doing ed tech for learning initiatives. I mean, it wasn't that incestuous at all because we were all entering this game of education in different ways. It was fantastic. And yes, I agree with your comment on the brilliance, and just it was very well done. And the other thing I'll say about it is this: after 3 days in our little education 2.0, by midway through the second day, you kind of have eyeballed everybody. You've seen all the people, you've read the program, you know who you want to hang out with, you know who you're impressed with. Right. And so it's like, you don't feel lost. Like if I've been to a conference where there's 1,000 people and I talked to, 25 people, there's 975 I didn't talk to. I felt like I talked to a high percentage of the people that I needed to. I believe what we seek is seeking us. So ourselves included. I feel like it was easy to feel like you had gotten to know everybody or gotten a chance to know everybody at your conference. And then there were surprises in the commingled sessions for breakfast. It was wonderful in that regard.
Yes. You mentioned some of the giants. Who were some? I mean, I think of Jim Rohn. I got my certification from Mary Mercy and the Brave Thinking Institute. There's also Les Brown, Tony Robbins. I mean, there's so many amazing speakers, coaches. Who are some of that, or is there one person that really inspired you to want to pursue this path?
The silly answer is there's no one person, because I'm inspired by every person I meet, whether they're giants or not. I'm just as inspired by the new college graduate student that was in my COM 406 class that just lost her legal assistant job, but she's on unemployment and she wants advice on how to go career search and wants to update her resume and wants me to have. I'm inspired by her as much as I am by Tony Robbins. I've had conversations with Les Brown, and I was fortunate enough to be mentored for a short time, long enough, by Brian Tracy. The coaches trainings that I went through back in 2007-8, the trainer that trained me was pulling from Tony Robbins. Like one time, I'm not going to mention the name or whatever. I mean, it's out there if people want to research it. But one time for a homework assignment, we had to listen to an audio recording that the guy had in it. Like you could tell he has a phone in his pocket, and he hit record on it in his pocket to record Tony Robbins. So he used to be a coach for Tony Robbins' organization. So now he's at the meeting, and Tony's in the room, and Tony's leading his team of coaches. And the guy puts his phone in his pocket and records and makes an audio of what Tony says. And we had to listen to it as one of our required readings. Wow. I mean, one of our required assignments. I'm like, wait a second. You stole this audio from your employer, and now it's a required listening for us. Okay. So I mean, I say that because nothing's perfect, and everybody's
integrity game, the integrity game.
Well, ultimately, that's my brand. That's what, I want more integrity in my life.
Yeah.
And so I wrote the book. A lot of times our work is a reflection of what we want for ourselves, isn't it? Right? Aren't we projecting a little bit?
Yes.
So I know that I'm committed to a life of integrity, and I'm a human being, so I fail often. And but it's a standard that I hold myself to, and I want to expand our understanding of what integrity is. It's not a value, a moral, or an ethic, or it's not even a one-to-one relationship between word and behavior, even though those are parts of it. I have a 10-point model of things that I think we need to integrate, things we need to bring together. But I learned a lot from Tony Robbins and all of his material that I studied. I learned a lot from Les Brown and the sticky sayings that the Trojan horse that speakers use to get the learnings through. I learned a lot from Brian Tracy. I used to lead lunch and learns out of Brian Tracy's offices when he was VP of learning for iLearning Global, which was a network marketing thing. And it's like, I don't need the network marketing, but I need to learn from a guy like Brian Tracy, who's spoken to millions of people all over the world and done the psychological research out of the journals and converted it for personal and professional growth. I mean, I appreciate that work so much. I mean, I tell you right now, somebody who I admire greatly, shout out to Dr. Heather Canary, who I met with earlier today on campus at San Diego State. She's the director of the School of Communication, and I'm thirsty for mentoring from her. I have so much admiration for people that went on for PhDs and have full-blown, productive, successful careers in academe. I said, hey, that's the most fun I never want to repeat. So I stopped at master's and went into the quote real world to try to make money. But now that I'm back on campus, I have admiration for these giants here in academe that get the grants, get the projects, write the books, do the studies. You understand, and brave the institutional politics of it all just to continue to be educators. So I find myself inspired by everybody I meet on some level. As far as behavioral assessments are concerned, Dr. Tony Alessandra is somebody that I look up to, and I embraced his platform versus the assessment platform I used to use. And now there's people I haven't met yet that I look up to, like Simon Sinek and Gary Vee. I love Gary Vee. Like, you talk about a guy who just gets to be himself. Just be yourself. Like, he's not worried about what he looks like. He's just showing up and talking. And I love that. Right. So I've heard one of the greatest luxuries in our life is the ability to be ourselves. Right. So, I mean, I could keep going. There's so many people that I look at. My mentors on campus, Dr. Peter Anderson, who shared my master's thesis. And I mean, there's so many others. Right. I mean, I could keep going. My parents who didn't have enough money to pay for my stuff. Right. I admire them and look up to them because they taught me how to keep a marriage together.
Yes.
You understand,
and
what
to have that character and integrity, that you were a great worker, a great student, that people wanted to invest in you, like you said.
Yeah, I've had many times in my life where people have looked at me and said, Jeff, you could probably do this, or Jeff, you're this, and I'm like, what? Because I didn't see myself that way. But then I quickly, I'm all committed. I got to prove you right. I won't let you be wrong about me.
You are, I'm telling you, Jeff, your energy, your empathy, your heart for people, your directness, I love it. To some people, it seems like I'm a unicorn. Like, is it real? Like, can you really have it all? But I see that in you. You have it all.
Well,
you may not be a billionaire yet, but you still have it all.
Well, I feel wealthy in many areas of my life when it comes to relationships and fulfillment. And I'm playing with house money in terms of having already accomplished so many things that I ever set out to do. It's like, that's fun when you accomplish your goals, because then it's like, now what? Oh, new goals. Right. And that's what the integrity game is helpful for, because it asks me about purpose. It asks me about my gifts. It asks me about my potential. It asks me about my goals, the 10 sets of questions. Now I get to refer back to it every now and then. And it's my own personal accountability structure. It's on my own personal engagement structure. It's a diary. It's I just check in on that. Are these still my answers?
Yes.
And then I just get to update my answers. And now I've got structural integrity to attract what I need and resist what I don't.
So, I mean, Jeff, with all that you have done, what is next for you?
Oh, man.
What's your dream? Because you have lots on your list. You have a book to write, but before the year is out for 2024 with your tips.
So the dream isn't what's next. The next is steps towards the dream, right? The next is I'm going to write another book. I'm going to be back on campus at San Diego State and further immerse myself in this culture and really, wave the flag of San Diego State University. My son is here on campus playing baseball. He just entered as a freshman. So we're a San Diego State family. So I'm going to commit myself to the department, even though I'm only a lecturer and I'm not full time. I'm going to go to department meetings. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be an advocate for the School of Communication in San Diego State University. And so that's going to continue to happen. I want to write a textbook version of the integrity game.
Wow.
So
I would love to help. Give me a chapter.
Okay. We'll talk about that. And then I'm going to do another Get A Klu in 52 for 2024. So I'm going to be reading, and I was thinking about doing an HR related one, by the way.
Let's do it.
So if you want to talk about a collaborative project, maybe we can get together and do co-author a Get A Klu in 52, an HR version. And then you and I could be online once a week, every week next year. You follow?
I love it. I love it.
I also, what is next for me? I'll tell you that I have to keep building the integrity game. So the integrity game, I really do think it'll land for individuals for sure, but I think it'll land in teams and in organizations. I think it can retrofit cultures. I think it can retrofit teams. Like I want to create shirts that say "Go retrofit yourself." Right.
I love how you play on words.
Yeah.
Like
structural integrity.
I'm going to be using that.
Yeah. Well, it's a little risque, but we want to grab people's attention and we want to be engaging. We don't want to be boring. We don't want to put people to sleep.
That's right.
Attention spans are shorter now than they were when I was growing up, and I was a TV kid, right? So now, TV kids compared to cell phone kids, my goodness.
Yes.
So if we're not quick and snappy and engaging and toes on the edge of some line somewhere, we need to be attention gaining. That's number one.
Yes.
Then we need to demonstrate that we care about people to keep their attention. And then we need to give them the value that they need, not shove curriculum down their throat. We need to have curriculum. As a matter of fact, back to your idea about coaches, how do coaches, build their $50,000 a year minimum? Well, start with curriculum. What's your curriculum, right? If somebody were going to do, Tish, everything tomorrow that you can do today, what are all the things they'd need to know?
That's right.
That's your curriculum. And then how do you package that and make it accessible? Well, coaching is one way, but there are other ways too. So what's next for me? Continue to follow up on all of these contexts I made at Education 2.0. There's a handful of people that I really want to talk to, and I want to know what other people think of the integrity game. I was blessed, Tish, blessed to get the opportunity to teach at San Diego State and to make my book required reading for upper division COM 406 and graduating seniors, and have them read the integrity game and answer the questions and theme out my assignments based on integrity game stuff. And I have a whole case study of a semester of college level seniors interacting with the integrity game. Well, now I want to know how it lands in the C-suite. I want to know how it lands in the boardroom. I want to know how a vice president of human resources can visualize a 1-year program, taking all of their high talent or high performance, whoever's identified for succession plan, take them through the integrity game and train the trainers and license it for me, call it what you want, but make sure that people are integrating.
Yes.
Coming together and getting their stuff together, and on and on. And so without going into the details of the model, I want to.
I can see that for you. I can see that.
I'm incubating the integrity game. I got to incubate it. I did it as a book. I did it as a group coaching program.
Now you were at the university.
At the university, and now I need to go into nonprofits and corporations.
Yes, scale it.
Yeah, and so education is a booming industry, just like anything else. San Diego State to the private organizations. I mean, so that's the right vertical to test this out in nonprofits and corporations is in the education realm, and then see if and how it spreads out. One of the people that we met at the conference, shout out to Arlene, who, I don't know if you remember her. She was the gold medalist at the 88 Olympics in Taekwondo. And now she's the executive director of PAVE Prevention, where they're basically striving to reduce workplace violence, period. Right. And so having conversations with her, and I don't know if you remember her. She was on one of the panels.
One of the panels. Does she have on a white shirt?
I don't remember what specifically she was wearing because I saw her a couple of the days. But anyway, I've already Zoomed with her. We talked, and she's like, Jeff, we're doing the prevent violence stuff, but what we really missing.
That's her. I think that is her. That is her. She's talking about making it safer.
Yeah, everything's safer. And so as she came up at a high level, in sports, she saw abuses in people that were using their power. And she's like, dawned on her that it probably just isn't sports. This probably happens in workplaces too. Yeah. And it's so anyway, I'm having conversations and learning what she's up to. And she's going after government programs and developing programs for government entities. So let's see if the integrity game lands in any of these leadership training programs that contribute to DEI initiatives or workplace violence reduction initiatives or whatever it is. I think that there's a place for the integrity game to assist brilliant people that are doing brilliant things. So those are some answers to what I think is next for me.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a feast at a banquet table. My goodness. Tomorrow I have a call too as well with, I don't know if you remember the gentleman from the Johnson group.
Don't remember. Wait. I remember, not Dr. Tim.
Kevin Wayne Johnson. Kevin Wayne Johnson. He was pretty good. He's from the DC metro area. So I
still haven't gone through all of my contacts and cards and there's a couple people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Yeah. He was good too. So I look forward to speaking to him too. And next week I get to interview Dorothy. I looked at her website. I know she's a principal consultant. It's just kudos.
Dorothy is a super impressive woman. I'm looking forward to building that relationship as well. But it's like she's like so impressive. Like I don't want to say intimidating, but I'm almost intimidated by Dorothy because she is like, look, if you are not, I've said this twice on her posts on LinkedIn right now. If you are not ready to own your stuff, you are not ready for Dorothy.
Elevate. I think it's her company. You're not ready to elevate if you can't own your stuff.
That's right.
Which goes hand in hand with integrity.
Well, it's accountability at the core. That's where we overlap, right? So I call it the integrity game, and I put game on there because I want to Trojan horse it. Remember, accountability will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be 100% responsible for our behavior.
Yeah, I got your quote. I loved it.
So how do we make this is what I'm on the planet for. How do we make accountability non-threatening? How much better would we perform in our individual, team, and cultures if accountability was non-threatening, if we willed ourselves, give me more accountability, please hold me accountable. Like I want you to ask me in a couple months, Jeff, of all those things you said on my show, that is what's next for you. Where are you at? How many of you, where are you at? You have permission to hold me accountable for anything I've said on your show or ever.
Likewise. Yes. Oh my goodness. Let's see. We are getting very close. We started at 6:55. We were so hot. We broke the computer.
We broke the live stream.
I know. But if I could wrap it up, my final question would be, what is your trophy moment? What are you most proud of from all that you've seen? Like I said, I went to your website. I was like, shut the front door. Like the media kit that you sent to me. There have been so many people you've been interviewed by. I mean, you are a self-publisher. You're working on book number 5 or 6 because you did do the ghostwriting with a client.
Yeah.
Co-writing with a client.
It's none of those things, Tish. Thank you, but it's none of those things. And there's no single moment. It's like a tie.
Okay.
Number 1 is when my wife said yes when I proposed.
I love it.
Because there's a love story there. Like I had to give her up to get her back, and that was scary because I knew that we would make amazing kids. I knew that we'd battle. Attraction's the easy part. Opposites attract. That's the easy part. Compatibility is the hard part.
Yes.
And I knew that if we braved everything there is to brave on the compatibility stuff, the 1 + 1 would equal 3. So my second trophy moment was when my son was offered a Division I baseball scholarship to our alma mater, San Diego State University. I met my wife here. I got 2 degrees here. She got a degree here. And so you talk about like parenting, like nobody tells you how to do that. There's no book for parenting, and despite all the books there are on parenting, we still screw it up.
There's no instruction manual.
But that's tied with my daughter. She's 15 years old, and she passed the California high school proficiency exam at the age of 15 because she was signed by an agent because she's an up and coming actress and model. And nothing's going to stop her. So when she got signed and she passed the California proficiency exam, and just in the last month, she's gotten 4 auditions, one of which was for General Hospital on ABC. and it's going to take some time for her to nail one and get a gig, but she's ready to go, and it's all cleared. She's got the pictures. She's cleared. She can, if she has to go shoot in South Africa for a month, she can go with because she has. So my daughter and her unstoppability, her focus, like my kids are picking up what I'm putting down. It's like you don't realize it, but like all the Zooms that I've done, and they're in another room, but they just you know what I'm saying? Like they have motivation, accountability built into their DNA. And so my trophy moments are not anything I've done professionally. I think that's the easy part compared to like winning the woman that you want to raise kids with and getting her to say yes, despite all the competition out there in the world. And my wife is amazing. So that's, when she said yes, when we got married.
And how many years now, Dev?
We've been married since the late 50s. Oh, wait, never mind. That was a compatibility comment. I'm sorry. I will tell you the first time I kissed Marianne was November 19th, 1991. So I was 19 years old. She was 18 years old. And I said, damn, we are really too young for this. How are we going to do it? And 7 years later, we were codependent. And I initiated a break. And I said, look, the only chance we have of being together happily ever after is if we invest in our individuality first and bring that to the table. If we're codependent, we're destined to fail. And I only want to get married once. And I know you only want to get married once. So at the risk of losing you, I'm going to set us free. And if the cliche is true, when you come back, it'll be meant to be. But I know I'm going to have to work my ass off. Forgive me. God. I knew I was going to have to work my ass off because it was unilateral. And I'm like, hey, I'm ready. Oh, you are, huh? Talk to the hand.
Yeah. You need to write a book on relationships.
Yeah.
Because you took accountability of that. Someone would not, I'm sure, like, clearly this lady is your wife, the mother of your kids. You love her to death. But for you to be able to walk away, that says so much about your strength and your maturity.
I looked myself in the mirror. I don't know how this stuff comes to me, Tish. I don't know how. Like when I was 19 years old, I don't know how it came to me to tell mom, just be proud that you raised a kid that somebody want to invest in. I don't know how that came to me at 19. And I don't know how this came to me at 26. But I told Marianne, if I really love you unconditionally, really, not just saying it, but if I really love you unconditionally, that has to include that me being your partner can't be a condition.
Yeah.
That means that all I want is for you to be happy, whether it's with me or not. Yeah. Now, if you find a bigger this or a better that or a deeper pocket or a whatever, then I just have to find a way to be happy for you if I really love you. Yeah. But if I need you to be mine in order to, then we're building a mansion on top of quicksand and we're destined to fail. Yeah. And I don't know how I knew that when I knew that, but I did. And it worked. So what's my shining moment? When I talked through enough hand to get her to say yes. Wow. And I braved all of the, okay, but no, okay, but no, okay. Yeah, crush me like a wormy apple, stomp on me like a cigarette butt, get resentment to a place of equity, whatever it takes. But I'm here. Love is my choice. You're my first and only choice. There's no other woman on the planet until I believe that you're not available to me anymore. And I don't believe that yet. So I'm going to keep working until I believe you're unavailable. And I fought through. So that's my shining moment. And now we got these incredible kids. I haven't even talked to you about my youngest, Brody, who's still sweet and innocent at 10 years old. But my trophy moments are my marriage and the success of my kids, because they prove that I was right about my wife and I was right about the amazing kids we'd raise. And I've also been right about career choice and the intangibles that I bring to the kids, because they hear the Zooms. They hear what I say in the car. Yeah, Chad. Yeah, Dad. Whatever, Dad. Yeah, Dad. Whatever, Dad. But then all of a sudden they say something, and you're like, oh,
they were listening and sinking in.
Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, when somebody asks me what I do for a living, I wake up every day and I figure out how I'm going to deserve my wife and kids. I'm a lucky man. So I'm just going to keep helping as many people in this world as I can and try to increase the world's integrity. One person, team, organization, culture at a time.
Yes.
And I'm blessed.
Well, I would love to partner with you on the 51 tips to the people and culture professionals in 2024. We want more. And I am sticking with that. We can talk about that offline. But I promised the audience, and I see that Nicole Hassania loves what we're doing. And hey, Nicole,
Hey.
we are just so excited that this is going to be something that's for the archives. I'm going to make sure that I send it to Pretty. I'm going to make sure that I replay and have the link available for those who did not come in to talk with us live. But it has indeed been an honor and a privilege. Any questions you have for me? Maybe one takeaway while we have like maybe 2 more minutes?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to ask a question because you and we can get into, Pandora's box, right?
I know, right?
But let me turn it around. What's next for you, Tish, and how can I support you? How can I make myself available to support the whatever's next for you? I mean, we're going to talk offline about co-authoring a book. I think that could be a lot of fun. But beyond that, what's next for you, and how can I continue to support you?
Of course. I do have a couple gigs coming. I think I may have told you in the fall. I actually get to go to the state that Dorothy is in October. I have a speaking gig in Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin. And then in September, I have another speaking gig in Minnesota. So my speaking iron is pretty hot. I would love to. How you can help me? I would love to. I have so many ideas as well. I would love to birth, slay, and shine. You heard it right here. You heard it right here as I'm featuring Jeff with the Integrity Game. I do want to birth, slay, and shine. How to triumph over life's challenges that were meant to destroy you. I would like to birth that. And I love the fact that we had our pre-show and just talking about all the different avenues of how I can get that out of my soul, out of my heart, out of my spirit, out of my mind, out of my dreams into a book.
Yeah. Well, I got to just real quickly, I'll tell you, having taught public speaking for 20 years, one of the things that comes very naturally to me is to organize content, because students would come up to me and say, Jeff, I don't know what to do my speech on, which is BS. They would be procrastinating and blah, blah. And so I'd say, well, what do you love? And what would you talk about for free? And what would put the best smile on your face? What are you passionate about? So I would lead people to topic selection, and then now there's any topic you can talk for 1,000 hours on any topic. So then I would help people organize into 3 main points with a logical relationship. So what I'm getting at is some people know me as a curricularizer, right? Is to help people,
you and your words.
help people establish their curriculum, the corpus of content that's organized categorically in a logical flow that makes sense and is digestible to the audience. Because when the audience starts asking questions, they're not paying attention to us anymore because they're hearing the questions in their head. So how do we make it easy? How do we create content in a navigational way that's built in, where they know where they are and they understand where they're headed and where the thing is going? That's why it was interesting on our panel, the start, because you know what I mean? Remember, we were all expecting introductions. And one person, God bless him, he just thought it was something else. So no right or wrong or good or bad or no judgment, but it was hard for us as panelists to follow along when what we didn't expect occurred. Right. And so anyway, all of that stuff. So curricularizing, organizing content into logical relationships that make it digestible for the audience. I love that. And it comes naturally for me.
I love it. So I have a client right now that I'm working with. Friday will be week 5 out of her 12-week session. And I am going to, I try to be consistent with my Wednesdays, my Winning Workplace Wednesdays, but I'm thinking about airing. It may not be live because I have some other commitments on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm thinking of either Tuesdays with Tish or Thursdays with Tish, and really sell my Ladies of Victory curriculum that's coming out. And I want to shout out Melody's mom. She was like, Tish, all the girls that you work with, Troy, right, Maya, they are doing phenomenal. I'm gonna need for you to have my daughter in your program. So it's right now, the client that I have, using the 12 weeks that I created for her and packaging that so that in the fall I can showcase and introduce that for more girls to join my tribe. And so before before Labor Day, before the kickoff of fall, end of summer, right? The unofficial end of summer, I want to have interviews with the girls that I have worked with so that they can be like my marketing and just sharing all the wonderful things that they've
yeah,
learned
there's so many
along the way.
things, so many things you could do now, like with these technologies that transcribe in real time, and you do an interview and then it's transcribed, and you've got book material and repurposing of content in productive ways. There's so many things that can be done. So I'm excited. You got a lot that you can look forward to, and I've got some ideas about how I can continue to be supportive of your efforts. I mean, like, you and I are cut from that same cloth. We're born to support and help other people. We need to actualize, like, secure your mask first. So we need to actualize ourselves so that we could be the most supportive that we could possibly be for others. But we sing the same song, Tish.
Yes, we do. We do. We're both I's and D's. I try to really operate in my I, but I do have that direct side as well.
Well, I'm not going to go D until I have permission.
Exactly.
I adapt my D way down because I want people to interact with the energetic, jovial, heart-centered, people-loving Jeff. But I can be intense, but I won't be intense with you unless I have your permission.
Yes. I love it. And I want to thank you. I hope that you stay back for 2 minutes as we have our post-show team, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I hope that you gleaned and got as many nuggets out of Jeff's treasure chest as much as I do. I have a full page of notes. I thank you so much for another. You do too. That's good too. I have another successful Winning Workplace Wednesdays. Until next Wednesday, keep shining. Toodles.